Hello fellas, just going to do a quick reply to On Point HQ and 3 books. I'm a bit late to the game, but hey ho, better late than never. So the first one, as you can see, is The Anatomy of Victory, Battle Tactics 1689 to 1763 by Brent Noseworthy. Cracking book, really well written, and I think a must-have for anybody who's got an interest in the late 17th century, the Wars of Spanish Succession, the Wars of Austrian Succession, and the 7 Years' War, which is the end date of 1763. It goes into depth about the changes between different eras that are covered by this book. Things like platoon firing, the introduction by the Dutch, how the Prussians and the British perfected it. It's small things like the change from wooden ramrods to metal ramrods, the change from plug bayonet to socket bayonet. It covers the Prussian army tactics, which was something that was at the forefront of military thinking, and also French military thinking as well, with innovations by people like Maurice de Saxe. And you can actually see the changes from the static linear warfare of the late 17th century into something that Napoleonic war gamers would recognise, with the introductions of things like light infantry, light cavalry, etc. And it's a cracking book. Like I say, it's a really good read. I've read it loads of times. Covers cavalry, infantry tactics, offensive and defensive tactics, all sorts of things, battle order and grand tactics. It goes into minute detail, but without being difficult to read. So that's my first one. The second one's following on from that, The Military Experience in the Age of Reason by Christopher Duffy. Again, another cracking book and another must-have for anybody interested in the 18th century as a whole. And it goes into depth about the experiences of the private soldier, the officer class, and even civilians in all different aspects of 18th century warfare. So it covers how they fought in actual battles, and covers diary excerpts from people who are actually at these battles. It also has information on the wilder side of things, so the French and Indian Wars, the Ottomans and the Croats fighting each other on the fringes of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, all sorts of things. The American War of Independence is covered, and it's from a more personal point of view rather than generals and their tactics and all that kind of thing. It does cover tactics, but with more more sort of slanted towards the actual experiences of soldiers rather than military theory. So that's that one. And then finally we have The Reality of War by Leonce Patry. I hope I've said that. Leonce Patry. He was an officer in the French army during the Franco-Prussian War, and this is his memoirs of that time. He fought all the way through the war, both in the imperial section of the war and then the Republican section of the war, and it goes into detail about what it was like to actually be a soldier in that time and that particular war. How you went from complete boredom to abject horror, and how sometimes you wouldn't even see the enemy for days, or you'd get a glimpse of them as they were trying to scout your positions. What it was like to be under artillery fire from the huge bombardments of the Krupp guns that the Prussians were using at the time. How he escaped when the imperial armies collapsed. And it's really good. It's well written. It's been translated really well by Douglas Fermer, and it reads more like a novel than it does a memoir. But it's very, very good. And anybody with a passing interest in either the Franco-Prussian War, wars of the late 19th century, or just having a different slant on a memoir from the usual World War II memoirs or World War One memoirs, yeah, this is well worth getting into and getting a copy if you can. Very, very good book. Okay, guys, that's it. That's my 3 recommendations. Cheers. Bye.